we're so happy to be here this morning with sunshine. Enjoy it while you have it. Don't look at the forecast. Just live in the present. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's your Nicole's Wisdom piece for today. How about that?
I love that. I really, really love that. I'm not going to look at the weather.
Good. Don't do it.
It's real hard for me, as you know.
Oh, yes, I do. I do understand that. Well, that voice was Molly Meyers, LaBadie, our co-host. I'm Nicole Fowles, and we're here this morning with Rich Yepsen. Did I say it right?
You said it right, yes.
Wonderful. Rich is here representing AARP of Central Ohio. He is a volunteer. He has years of experience, and he is going to tell us about a really, really important series that is coming to the Delaware Branch Library this September, all about watching out for fraud.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's the Fraud Watch Network, which AARP manages and has, and I've been volunteering to do presentations with a team of folks,
yes.
all of us retirees, going around the community and letting people know who is trying to rip them off, how they're trying to rip them off,
That's
and
right.
how you can prevent being ripped off.
Yes, I think it's going to be a really important program, and as we'll talk about in the second half of the show, if you heard those 4 letters AARP, that doesn't mean that it's just for a certain group of people. That means it's for anyone who cares about not being ripped off.
Correct.
Yes, so we will get into that more in the second half of the show. But so that's your tease. In the first half, we're going to do what we normally do, which is talk a little bit about books. So
It's really the only reason I came.
yes,
I mean, getting the volunteer assignment was nice, but I thought if I can go talk about books for a few minutes with anybody, I'll get up when I'm normally not used to getting up and do it.
yeah, I know. And
Nicole, make note of that.
Yeah.
Rich, you're now in the list.
We do. We have a list of
Thanks.
guests that are like, okay, you're coming back and you're coming back. I've already got, if you're a regular listener and you listened last month, we had Neha from The Sages and
I am
Seekers.
so excited about
Neha
her again.
already wants to come back and talk about, how teens get involved in their library. I'm like, oh, I love this. Now we're going to have like our regular segments.
So let's love
go.
it as well.
Right. Well, Molly, what is something that you have been reading lately?
Okay, I'm going to apologize to everyone because, especially if I do what I think I'm going to do next week, I'm going to be confusing for the next few weeks. If you remember, last week I talked about The Housewives.
Oh, yes. You said you had lots of books about houses or
I
wives.
have wives.
Wives. Okay, that was it.
So this week I read The Mad Wife. So remember, The Housewife is Gone Girl-like. The Mad Wife is not. This is not a replaceable type book series. This is The Mad Wife by Meagan Church. This is also a fantastic book. This one is a lot heavier, though. This one's going to take you back to a 1950s housewife. When the story starts, she's having a party, and we're starting to get to know who Lulu Mayfield is. Lulu is known in her community as the person who can make the perfect Jell-O salad.
Ooh.
She's known as being magical with it, and Lulu has learned that if she puts something in Jell-O, people just eat it. So she just throws about anything in Jell-O she's got in her house, and they eat it and seem to love it.
It sounds totally unappetizing.
Totally unappetizing.
I feel like I see where
never
this
liked
is
Jell-O.
going.
Nothing against this book, but it's like
Trust
Jiggles
me.
has no mouthfeel.
Then you would like this book because it's just going to take you down. The Jell-O starts failing right along with everything else in the neighborhood. So we meet these neighbors, and they're all 1950s. Husbands do good work. We're hearing about her husband's job. He's working for a promotion. We're learning about how perfect the community really is, playing cards while the kids take their naps with the neighbors. All of this is going on. And Lulu has just had a baby, Esther. And Esther is sort of playing throughout this story. And Lulu gets a new neighbor who starts throwing the whole neighborhood off. Something is wrong with her. Something's off. And her daughter, something's even more off there. Lulu starts investigating and starts to find out the dark secret of this neighbor. Well, what it has to do is the mental health of the 1950s housewives. The mental health and how we didn't talk about things. This one's really hard. I've got to tell you, if you have anything postpartum, anything with losing children or anything, this is a trigger warning for you. This book is not going to be for everybody right now in their lives, but it is going to be for some. So it starts off a little crazy. That Jell-O salad, you're kind of like, where am I going with this? Am I just Donna Reed who goes wrong? It's not. It starts getting deep into mental health. How we can just suddenly start going down a hole, how we don't always know how to talk about it, and especially in the 1950s.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because during that era, which I was a child in, since I'm 77 years old, You didn't talk about those things.
No.
When you look back, when you read histories about how feminism came into its own and how women finally were able to talk about things, because it doesn't matter what you're feeling, you need to talk about it. You need to see somebody about it if it's a problem. And housewives were typically just sort of, you do your thing, you get your husband and kids off to work.
Maintain the home.
That's right.
Yes.
You wore a dress all day.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, if you were a woman,
while they were vacuuming.
And
right.
at the same
right,
time,
with heels.
if you ever travel around to some of the mental institutions that have closed since but are doing tours, one of the things I've learned is a husband could drop a wife off for reading books, for gossiping too much, for about any excuse. So in this time, you know, mental health really could be abused. And there are so many pieces. This is a wonderful book. I don't want to scare you off with how deep it is. Towards the end, it's going to get you. In the beginning, you're kind of like a little bit of what's going on, where are we going with this, how's this happening?
Well, Jello's a good hook.
Jello's a good hook.
It truly is.
And it's amazing. The Jello really becomes a character in the story as the Jello stops being as perfect as it
morphing
was.
into something.
It does. And, you know, it
Taking
wasn't
on
until
human
later.
qualities.
Ooh,
I love
and what
those.
a subtext of the mold
I
of
know.
Jello, right? I
The
mean,
mold.
absolutely how we mold
How
ourselves.
it goes from sturdy to loose. As our brains and our lives do sometimes.
Wow. Okay, this took a turn because
This took a turn, didn't it? You thought I was going to be funny.
No, I actually thought it was going to be horror, and I thought that the things going into the Jello were going to become more and more suspicious.
Ooh,
And
things
so
moving around
that
are
would have been
supposed
a
to be
good one.
inert.
that's where my brain went. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad it stayed on your track because my track was far more disturbing. Maybe that says something, but
The one I'm hoping I can finish next week, but of course I'm reading The Correspondent, which you've already talked about, so I'm going to have to really pressure myself.
I do love that
I
one.
know, but you've already talked about it. I'm hoping to get The Secret Lives of Supervillains' Wives.
oh yes.
So we'll see if I can take us in a third wife direction by next week.
Okay,
So
challenge.
wives are a theme in your books.
So
For some
far.
reason, this year, it has to be a theme in publishing this year.
Oh, sure.
And they all
Yeah.
have these similar 1950s looks, and sometimes the eyes are covered. The covers are absolutely amazing right now.
All right. Well, that is The Mad Wife by Meagan Church, and you've sold me on it, so I'm sure that others will be adding it to their lists as well. Rich, you've got two books, and I love it. Nonfiction and fiction, right? So go ahead and tell us which one you want to start with.
All right. Well, let's start with the fiction, since the library is the organization we're partnering with and why I'm here. I've always gravitated toward international authors. One of the things I loved about when I went to Ohio State was taking electives of Japanese literature and translation, French, all that stuff. And I still look for authors from overseas, different perspectives, different ways of writing. A few years ago, I read a review of this little book. It's called What You Are Looking For Is in the Library.
Of course it is.
And it's
Love
written
it.
by Michiko Aoyama. And it is about 5 different people. We meet 5 people who are at a crossroads in their lives. One woman has taken maternity leave and come back and been demoted. Another gentleman has retired. Another guy just wants to do something different. And they're sort of lost. And they eventually end up at the library in their neighborhood. And they meet this librarian who is portrayed as somebody who's sort of intimidating. She's a large woman. The author describes her as not being fat. She was just big. And she sat in a corner in her little office and did things. And each character we're introduced to finally ends up with her and explains what they're looking for, where they are in their lives. And this librarian has a knack for saying, here are books you ought to see. Here are books you ought to read. And in every case, those books help the individual find their place.
I love
Find
that.
what they're doing.
So this is nonfiction.
Well, it reads like it, because what stood out to me when I read it, the gentleman who retired and finds all at once after 40 years, he feels like he's not part of society anymore, and he doesn't know what his purpose is. Well, I was getting ready to retire. I didn't have those concerns particularly. I was ready to retire, but I know so many people who thought, what do I do now?
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And finding that purpose is difficult for some. And the gentleman in here, gets a new lease on life by going to the library and reading these books. Yeah. And the larger part of the book that's so fascinating or so interesting to me is, for me personally, was just the pull of a library. What the library meant to me as a kid. And when I went to the library when I was in school, would I go to the library long after I'm out of school? And what the library can mean to you and do for you and introduce you to. And all that's just so important. And the vignettes in this book are just charming. And they, again, remind you of the importance of books, no matter what you're reading. Whether it's Jello and Wives or something else.
Right. That sounds like a lovely book club discussion book. I think our book clubs would really like that at the library.
I think so too. And it goes right with the theory that librarians look for the right book at the right time for the right person.
Exactly.
And that is exactly what I was taught in school. That's what we do.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And this is a perfect example of it. It's only 250 pages. Or
I was going to say.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, what you are looking for is in the library by Michiko
Aoyama.
Aoyama. I was almost there.
Close.
All right. And then the other one, nonfiction, a little music tie-in.
Yes, it is Where the Music Had to Go, How Bob Dylan and the Beatles Changed Each Other and the World. It's by Jim Windolf. A great book. Again, the Beatles were and are the group that I admire most. And Bob Dylan was somebody I really admired. And you, throughout the years, you've read anecdotes about how they got along or didn't get along or whatever. Well, the research that Jim Windolf did, he's a New York Times reporter, just goes into great depth about how they truly influenced one another, competed with each other, sometimes got at each other, but it goes into the music so deeply. And in my case, as I read about different music that was being written, how it was being influenced, I just get out the records. I've got all the ones they're talking about.
Right.
And you listen to the music in a different way.
Yeah.
You hear an influence here. There's so many anecdotes in here. One where when Dylan's first impression of the Beatles were he thought they were just teeny bopper music. Paul McCartney's first impression of Dylan when he heard his records were it's folk crap.
Sure.
But they eventually saw where each other were going.
I can absolutely see that as they both changed their styles.
Yeah. And Dylan's going out west, and all at once there's like 8 Beatles songs on the radio. He's listening to them, and he finally, in the car, and I can't use the word he said, what the? He said, this stuff.
Gosh golly.
Yeah, he said this. He said, listen to those chords, listen to those harmonies, listen to what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is where the music has to go.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that influenced him to go electric, which was real controversial.
Yes. It was, absolutely.
Yeah, but for anybody who loves music in general, rock music specifically, and either you grew up in the 60s or you're very young and you think, what was going on back then? Well, this tells you a lot about what was going on back then. It's just wonderfully written, deeply researched. You can't help but admire both the writing, but more deeply admire the Beatles and Dylan for who they are, what they did.
I do love whenever we can take a step back and we can kind of look at the world and be like, wow, we're living in a world where both Bob Dylan and the Beatles exist, or we're living in a world where both, this person and this person exist.
Yeah.
That's a perfect cap. We are going to take a break, a short commercial break. On the other half, you are going to hear about a series coming to the Delaware Branch Library in September that will keep you safe from fraud. Stay tuned. All right, well, we are back. We are here to talk about the AARP Fraud Watch Network series coming to the Delaware Branch Library this September. You aren't going to want to miss it. Our guest this morning is volunteer and really media savant, Rich Yepsen. He brings with him decades of media experience, which is why he is so comfortable on that microphone. We're so happy you're here with us this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here. As I said in my note to you when I accepted the assignment, I said I can't do my usual retired guy rolls out of bed slowly to get up here and get in the very caffeinated atmosphere I'm participating in. But glad to be here.
Yes, we are full of caffeine this morning. Well, let's kick it off. So for people who might not be familiar, the AARP Fraud Watch Network, what is it and what kind of resources does it provide?
The Fraud Watch Network is a group of volunteers, not only here in Ohio but everywhere, that do presentations, invited to talk about scams, to talk about what's going on out there in the world that is being created and designed to separate you from your money, hurt you in ways, goof up your life.
Right.
So we're out there to tell you about the scams, how they work, what to look for, and most importantly, encourage you to take the steps to protect your identity, protect your money, all those things. So it's informational, educational, and encouragement. It's like we want people to come away not scared, not intimidated, but a lot of it's common sense.
Right. It's not meant to leave you feeling anxious. It's meant to leave you feeling empowered,
correct.
More in control.
Right. And the thing that's, as a volunteer, it's a constant continuing education for us.
Right.
3 years ago, the scams were like this. Now they're multiplied because all these things are being invented to benefit our lives, using our phones and our pads and our computers to make things easier for us, and we all want to take advantage of them. And then there's somebody else out there saying, I can turn this 180 and I can get their money, I can goof it up for them. And we want to not have people get goofed up.
And this is a problem for all ages, too, because of the way it evolves. What you think you know the next week may not be what's actually happening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a good example, one of the questions we get all the time are about password protection. Now, how do I do that? And then, it gets a little more complicated. You get dual identification, that kind of thing. Now we've got pass key, and I think older people, of which I am one, we like change, but too much change is like, oh, do I have to do that? Do I have to do all this other stuff? Well, yeah, you do. And it's encouraging them not to be intimidated by the things you have to do, because at the end of the day, this is what's going to protect your money and protect your loved ones and your friends and make you feel like, okay, I've got this.
Right.
Yeah. I don't need to be scared.
Right.
So the series is coming to the Delaware Branch Library. That's our branch in downtown Delaware. It's going to be Thursdays at 2 o'clock the month of September. And you can basically come every Thursday at 2 o'clock from September 3rd to September 24th and learn about something new each week. So you're going to kick it off with kind of the scam landscape.
Right. That just gives you the overview of the biggest scams. There are lots of little ones too, but that presentation, again, just gives you the big picture. Some details about each one. We always give information about, going to the AARP.org Fraud Watch website, which has got a ton of material and is constantly updated. There's also a helpline. If you're having some issue and you want an answer, Monday through Friday, 8 to 8. We've got a number for you.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But it gives you the bigger picture.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then the next week, you're going to follow it up with government imposter scams. That just sounds scary on its own. What's happening with that?
Sure, because all of us are using things provided by our government.
Right.
Social Security, Medicare, the IRS takes care of our taxes.
Yes.
And all of those things are being used by scammers to get in touch with people and get their money. For example, you might get a message from Internal Revenue Services. Well, it's not a plural; it's a service. The IRS.
That little
but
piece.
if they've texted you or they leave a message on your phone about, this is the Internal Revenue Services, and we have a question about the taxes you owe. They want you to call them, number one, and then number two. Once you contact them back, they've got you.
Yes,
because they want money. They've scared you into getting money. They may talk about a lien on your house or freezing your bank account. Well, the main thing about that is the IRS never can contact. None of these entities from the government ever contact you by phone or email.
Or text.
Yeah, or text.
The toll roads, they're never going to text you that you have a massive toll road fine, everybody. They're not going to.
Right. And government scams,
I might have fallen victim to that.
Yeah. Well, it's easy. It's easy to fall victim
Nicole,
to all
I
this
got your
stuff.
back.
Thank you.
You come ask me if you get that again.
All right. Then we go to, on Thursday, September 17th, online relationship scams. First of all, I love that it's talking about this, too, because relationships means a lot of things.
Yes.
It means friends, family, but it could mean romance. And so but give us a tease of what that will entail.
The main thing about all these scams, but this one in particular, scammers are looking to play on your emotions.
Your heartstrings.
It's very easy to play on our emotions. And if you are alone or lonely or just looking for friendship, they've got ways of getting your attention. And once you get the person to click on a link or make contact back and they start reeling you in, it's like once they feel they've got an emotional connection, then eventually they're going to ask for money, or they're going to start layering things on that get you more involved, and you're going to give them things because there's promise at the end of this.
Oh, sure.
And it's and with AI, if it's a visual profile, they've created a picture of somebody who looks really great.
It's going to look amazing.
Man or a woman, and it's like this is all at once. This person, this non-person becomes a person in your mind, and you start dealing with them. But we talk about the red flags. And one thing about romance scams particularly is the urgency. At some point they say, this has been so great, and I really want to meet you, but I really need this. I've got trouble. I've got somebody who needs $5,000, and if you send it to me, then we'll meet up.
Right.
And it's all a ruse. But the emotional connection, playing on people who are emotionally vulnerable. It's to me the cruelest thing about the scams, because there's some articles I have that I refer to in the presentation about people who've lost their life savings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars to a woman or a man who doesn't exist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who just wanted the money to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah.
The series finishes with Vigilance Against Cybercrime, Thursday, September 24th. Again, all of these are Thursdays in September at 2 in the Delaware Branch. Vigilance Against Cybercrime. And I think it seems like it's all encompassing a little bit about some of the other things that we've talked about in the series as well.
Yeah. And cybercrime is just trying to remind people how to stay safe when they're shopping, banking, using social media, protecting your passwords. If you're still mailing things in, how to mail things in, because stuff can get stolen out of a mailbox.
Oh, sure.
Just practical steps to protect yourself digitally in a digital world. And again, the steps aren't hard. Sometimes it can be a little confusing, but we've got information to help you. You can get information to help you. Just simple steps to take so that your money is safe, your loved ones are safe, and you don't have to worry about so much. There's plenty to worry about anyway.
Right. I think it's nice. It sounds like we've got people who may be listening to this and may feel a little bit of anxiety. Maybe you have a trusted circle of people. Maybe you don't. Sounds like AARP is really a great kind of trusted network to just kind of go to and say, hey, can you help me out? Especially with that hotline.
Yeah.
It is. I think part of the way scams work is everything's immediate. You click on a link, you answer the phone.
Take a beat. It's okay.
Right. Take a beat, pause, and yes, AARP is trying to become a trusted resource, so that if you need to know something about these scams, go to the website, go to the phone. Come to these presentations, share the information.
Can I shout out your magazine? I am creeping up to the age I get at, but I get a cheat when I go to my mom's and she lets me look at hers. You handle a lot of these scams. My mother reads those articles and will tell me different things she has found in your magazines. So if you are eligible for membership, I got to say I'm jealous right now because you've got a lot of great content there.
You're going to get old. You'll get to join.
Yes. You get to join. That's right.
The magazine and the bulletin. And again, none of these events are about selling memberships.
No.
We don't do that. But we reference the magazine. We reference the bulletin because they provide good excellent information.
Yes.
Right.
And then you get the further updates on the website and the telephone.
Right. And these are free programs. They're happening at the library, presented by our friends at AARP. You can register. We make it easy. 2 different places. If you're familiar with the Delaware Library website, delawarelibrary.org/event, go to any of those Thursdays to register, or go to aarp.org/Ohio, click on events, and you can also register there as well. We gave a small tease at the beginning of the program, and I think that's what we'll close on today. But we talked about this isn't just for people who are creeping up to the AARP
No,
age.
not at all.
This is for everyone.
Correct. That's our name, yes, implies a certain age. This is for everybody.
Yeah.
Because younger people and families need to look out for their parents or their grandparents. They need to know. So
even themselves, it's changing. I used to completely rely on
getting
checking.
Ripped off isn't exclusive for old people.
No. I used to be able to check that piece with an email changing, and now they can make the emails look like they're supposed to look. So, I mean, all of this within a year changes on you.
Literally yesterday, I got an email that had an Evite in it for a funeral, and I was like, this seems sus, and I gave it a minute, and I was like, should I even click on it? And
You hit the right point. Don't
Yeah.
click.
don't click it.
We are
Don't
we are
click.
programmed to click immediately, to respond immediately, and that's how you get into trouble. It's
Right.
taking a break,
Right.
taking a pause.
I'm like, why
thinking.
would I get an email for a funeral? And I
Yeah.
don't even know this name, but it
can bring
made
a
it.
date.
But it
Yes.
made it to my inbox, and it came from a credible looking Gmail account.
That's also important because when I got almost scammed,
Yeah.
I saw an email from a friend. He has a unique email handle, and I thought, oh, it's my friend Mark. And I started to read it, and I thought, this isn't Mark. Because
No.
the end of the email didn't have gmail.com. It had Mark, blah, 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 a bunch of gobbledygook.
Yeah.
But if you just look at the name and then read, you've reacted.
You've
because
reacted
you know
right
the
away.
guy.
That's right.
And
That's
you're
right.
off.
Well, Rich, it has been an absolute pleasure. We're going to have you back again. AARP, get ready because he's coming back.
Yeah, we're claiming him.
Thank you. Could it be later in the morning?
Yeah,
Never mind.
we'll see what we can do about that.
Okay, thank you
All
both.
right. Well, thank you for joining us this morning. Molly, as always, a beautiful day.
Same thing to you, Nicole. We're
Yes.
going to enjoy the sunshine
Yeah,
today.
let the sun shine. Mark, let the sun shine.
All right.
And
Beautiful.
until next week, we'll see you in the stacks.